This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you, Caro. With that said, please note that the meeting is being recorded and made available among the DOT PED projects. And it would be great also if you added your project name to your name here in the Zoom meeting. You simply hover over your avatar and find the three dots, and in the drop-down menu there, you can change your name and add the project name. I heard some doors slamming. Please also mute yourself while not talking. Would be great. But yeah, with that said, we can start the deep dive. So good afternoon, welcome. Thank you for joining us here today on the fourth thematic deep dive on flexibility services and climate impact assessments for PEDs and PCEDs. It's brought to you by the Expert Support Facility group, mainly through Baha, Martin, Merv, and supported by the ESF staff of Anne, Lars, Christoph, and me. And also, again, for all the previous deep dives, we are joined by Caro here as tech support. Thank you very much. And any technical questions her way. The focus of this deep dive is partly on flexibility services, which are crucial in an energy system centered around variable renewable energy sources and where it ensures this continuous balance between energy demand and supply across all timescales. And the other topic of today's session is climate impact assessment and positive clean energy districts, a relatively novel term encompassing not only an energy but also emission neutrality. But what we want to highlight as well in this session is how flexibility services impact climate emissions from a PED and how we can structure flexibility incentives that also relates to the mission of 100 climate neutral and smart cities. So that's something that we would like to focus on in the discussion. And as we did in the last deep dive, those of you who were there, we will also reflect a bit on the role of research and innovation to speed up the applicability of these two topics of climate impact assessment and flexibility services. So these deep dives, they serve as a starting point for synthesizing approaches, achievements, and learnings in different areas of PED projects. It is a learning process, how to design and facilitate them. So please help us give some feedback in the end of this session. And also remember to have an open-minded atmosphere in the breakout rooms so we can all leave with some inspiration and perhaps a few new insights, practical takeaways. With that said, we're thrilled to have you here as a part of this fourth thematic deep dive. So let's get started. And with that, I'm going to talk a bit short on background. As you all know, the framework or tool of positive energy districts is a framework to address the urban energy transition and climate neutrality with the three pillars of efficiency, flexibility, and production. So the PED pathway within the DOT partnership has a vision to initialize 100 PEDs in Europe by 2025 and to contribute to the mission on climate neutral cities with a portfolio of PED solutions until 2030. And some words on the background of the expert support facility function within this transition pathway of PED, a need for a strategic development, continuous cooperation between funded projects, and a synthesization of project outcome was identified. as opposed to synthesization after projects ended. So with the PED Call 2 project family of 2021, this expert support facility function was established in order to support those very needs. And going forward now for the new project cohorts funded by DOT, the expert support facility function has been revamped into something called the Knowledge Hub, serving much similar purposes of valorization and scaling across the PED projects and also in the other transition pathways as well. Short on the intention of the deep dives from the expert support facility. We identified together at a DET projects meeting a year ago this clear need for thematic exchange between the PED projects in the project family. So a bit of brainstorming led us into these 5 following thematic deep dives, where we are here now at number 4, narrowed down a bit to only flexibility services and climate impact assessment, and hoping to also facilitate a 5th final session here later this year. On the scope and output, these sessions will be compiled, analyzed, and synthesized into some sort of position paper, which then has multiple purposes and usages. We can use it for synthesization of project outcome towards the DUT innovation portfolio. You can hopefully use it for ordinary project dissemination activities, but also perhaps for other usages like policy briefs and recommendations and much more. So moving over and having a brief look at the agenda of today's session. We'll start to get to know each other a little more after this slide with a small check-in on Menti. And after that, we'll get an introduction to the topic itself by Baha and Martin here. And then we'll dive into some selected projects, pitching different approaches on the challenges in focus. After that, we'll have a short break before jumping into the group discussions, where you can choose between joining one of the 3 breakout rooms focusing on different topics and to start discussing with fellow experts. And then we reconnect in the larger room, share some key insights and takeaways before making the closing remarks for today's session. Yes, I think that's all here. And with that, I would like us to take a few moments to connect, just to get sort of a look where everyone is from here in the room. So, Caro, yes, you started your sharing the screen, and simply go to menti.com and use the code that you see on your screen now, shared by Caro, or you could also have scanned the QR there, but it's already gone. Okay. Just as for the previous sessions, there is a majority of researchers in the room, not surprising me. I think some and maybe even many of you have been at one or several of the previous sessions. I see some new faces as well. But I think I think last time we at least have had a bit of other representatives than the business or industry and researchers. That's quite interesting. I myself did not, unfortunately, manage to go here and check in while talking. You have to bear with me, but I could have put as part of the DUT team. I think we can switch to next question, Caro. Okay, if you represent a DUT project, which project family are you from? Very nice. We see a variety of representation here from all the project families. It's very nice to see the 2022 and 23 families here as well. And also representatives from maybe Horizon projects, some of you pitching today, and other entities as well. Yeah, big representation from 22. Nice to see. Okay, moving on to the next question. Is the country representation. Okay, the usual suspects. And as the last time, we have two Netherlands competing for attention. And two Turkeys as well. I think we had it last time as well. But yeah, it's nice to see a spread geographically as well, from north to south, east to west. Very nice. Was that the final question, Caro?
Yes, that was the final slide.
Okay, thank you. Then I should be able to share my screen again. Can you see my screen? Perfect. So with that small check-in, we will, and before listening to the project pitches, we will be given an introduction to the topic or the topics themselves by Martin and Baha. And I think actually that we have flexibility services first out. Okay. Martin, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Jonas, for introduction. I see we run a little late, so I try to speed up. Can you move to the next slide? Yeah, when we are in a PET, and you can advance, Jonas, there is an animation. You will see that typically within a PET you have a lot of usage of energy, electricity consumption or other energy sources, and you typically have in a PET a production. And ideally, if you have a full PET, then the two are more or less equal, that you have the same amount of production than you have at consumption. But typically you don't have that, and you somehow rely on the outside world. And then there are two things to be bothered about. Can you advance, Johannes? First of all, it's the energy balance within your PET to make sure that you have the right amount of energy at the right time. And secondly, if you advance, it's the energy transport capacity that you have with the outside world. And of course, you also have energy transport within your PET, but typically that is normally well organized. And this brings me to the topic of flexibility. You can use your flexibility for balance keeping and for the constraints you have in your transport. And in order to do so, you have only 4 flavors. You would have controllable production, have production which you can speed up or speed down or whatever. You could do demand response, more or less trying to fit your demand towards your production, which always goes to a certain extent, of course, because I mean, if you have a lot of heat in the summer and you want your house heated up in the winter, then of course you cannot switch your heating request to the summer. That doesn't work. So demand response always goes to a certain extent. And if the first two don't work, you have two other options, which are storage or interconnection. And those two are more or less interchangeable. And with storage, you keep your energy within your PET and store it for later use. So you more or less shift in time. And that time can be the day and night, or a week rhythm, or a seasonal rhythm. Or if you don't store, you can bring it to your neighbors. If you have a surplus of energy, you bring it outside, and then you rely on your neighbors when you need energy and when you don't have it. And of course, storage comes with a cost. You have to invest in batteries, heat buffers, and all those kind of things. And there is efficiency constraints in those things. But the same is with interconnection, because if you move to another region, then you typically need also investments to bring it to there, and you will typically also lose some energy. So I think the two are interchangeable. If you would go to demand response, you have three options. You more or less can change your behavior, more or less doing your dishwashes during the day instead of the night, or what I just said, moving your heat consumption to the summer instead of the winter, and the last thing is difficult. If you have a production facility in your industry, you can use the flexibility in your production processes. For instance, if you have heating, cooling, drying, all those kind of processes, there is flexibility in that, and you can use that. And we will come back to that. And if you can't use the two first things, you can buy an asset to provide extra flexibility. So you can try to invest in a battery or whatever, in some buffer that helps you in that. Yes, please. For production, you have sun and wind, which are controllable, but only one-sided. So you have them or you have them not. And if you have a lot of them, you can bring them down a little bit. The advantage of the two is that they have very low marginal costs. So if you curtail them, you don't lose that much money. And if you have a generator, then you can really tune it. You can use a generator when there is no sun, when there is no wind, you can bring it up. But it comes with a cost. You need fuel for that. And even if that fuel is fossil fueled, then of course you don't have clean energy. That's about controllable production. Then how to unlock flexibility. There are more or less two ways doing that. You can use it implicitly, use it for yourself, or use it to stay within the limits of your contracts or the kind of rules that you have. That's one way. We call that implicit, and DF stands for demand side flexibility or demand response or distributed flexibility, but it's all more or less the same. And the other is use it explicitly, where you bundle it and bring it to the market, to somebody who is in need. And that's what we call explicit flexibility. My last slide, I think, if you would do the latter, so explicit flexibility, you would intervene in flexibility markets, and there are more or less three of them: spot markets, which are typically energy markets, where you try to sell for high prices and to buy for low prices and use your flexibility for arbitrage. The second one is helping the system balance. It's typically the system operator who is responsible for balance keeping, and you can assist them in FCR, AFRR, all kind of balancing services. And the third category is helping to cope with transport constraints. And typically there are new markets for that, so-called redispatch markets, which we now see popping up in different countries who have a lot of congestion problems. And those markets are for all commodities, so not only for electricity, but of course you can do the same things for gases, for green gases, for hydrogen, for heat, but I think the electricity is most developed, so I think it's best to keep them as examples. Okay, this was my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. Then I hand over the word to you, Baha, to take us through the other topic of today's session.
Thanks, Jonas. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can beat Martin at that. It's 6 minutes. So
Yeah.
this is a little more fuzzy subject. You can have different types of the terminology has actually developed in time, and it's gone from buildings to blocks to districts and cities, of course. But you can say it's quite chaotic, actually, the development. It's taken some time to standardize, and we've only now begun to hear clean positive energy districts with the latest 221 calls. But you can see that there's a whole lot of concepts and the terminologies flying around. Next one, please. Although the PED definition is quite straightforward, of course, but mainly related to energy. And the relationship with the climate impact is true energy most of the time. The less fossil fuel, the more renewables, the less impact on climate. So all of these concepts, they work well with lower climate impact through less fuel use of fossil fuels. The carbon neutrality to climate neutrality and the clean concepts are not as clear as they should be at the moment. And climate neutrality has been switched to only last year. So we're talking about concepts that have not really been defined very well. Next one, please. Of course, we have been, to go to the city side and not PEDs, although we know that we want to do PEDs as much as possible in the city. So, the PED is going to grow into and swallow the whole city, sort of a conception you can think of. But city emissions, of course, are more standardized things. Although we know national emissions first, city emissions have been de-standardized, by the Covenant of Mayors Sustainable Energy Action Plans for a long time, several decades now, SAPs, as you might remember them. And the GHG protocol is also quite well standardized. The scopes 1, 2, and 3, which most of the time the cities are allowed to skip scope 3, for example. They need to account for their energy, both indirect and direct. So where does PED fit in there in the sector-based or scope-based estimation? You can think of SEDs as a city, okay, and think of the scopes in terms of 1, 2, 3 again, in boundary and out boundary, and you can go with the same concept. So looking at it in this way is quite simple, actually, if you think about the carbon neutrality or climate neutrality just in terms of the emissions. Okay, next one, please. Let me confuse you a little bit more. This one is another way of looking at emissions, okay? This one is not standardized yet. There's a lot of work on it. It's quite a hot topic, actually. Consumption-based emissions. Now, this one is tricky. Why? Because you may be living in a affluent country, a city. You may be living in Amsterdam, but you may be getting a lot of your stuff from China. Produced in China. So how do we account for what is produced in China for somebody living in Amsterdam? So that is the basis of consumption-based emissions. And this, of course, gives us a much more realistic picture of what really happens in the world. As you can see, the figures are not great, but you can see that consumption-based estimations are much higher than the sector-based emissions. And there's a clear distinction between consumer cities and producer cities. Most of the affluent countries and cities are going to be on the consumption-based emissions. They're going to lose quite a lot in terms of the targets that they have to reach in terms of consumption-based emissions. Next one, please. Okay, so this is the geographical distribution of what I just told you. So you can see that the last three, Europe, North America, and Oceania, that is Australia and New Zealand, of course, have very high consumption-based emissions compared to the rest of the world. This estimation is beginning to become standard, and I'm just venturing that this will probably be more important as time goes on, because you'll need to take into account whatever is produced for you in other countries. Okay, next one. So now we have the clean PEDs, positive clean energy districts. I think now we have several projects that are targeting or have the vision of such PEDs. So what are we going to take into account? Not just emissions, obviously. We have a lot of things that we need to take into account for a clean PED, which is, for example, starting for air quality, water quality, and lots of different things, adaptation parameters like surface temperatures, urban heat island indexes. There's a lot of things that can be taken into account, but we still don't have a standard definition for any of these. Now the projects are battling to standardize these things and try to define them in a way that is legible, feasible, and measurable, and also disseminatable, I would say, because you would have to do the same thing with all the projects. I think this was the last one, right, Jonas?
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Martin and Baha, for introducing us to today's topic. And before letting the projects pitch, we will just have a quick look at the content-related Mentimeter questions, which was sent out with the meeting invitation. I know we are a few minutes behind, so I will try to do it as quickly as possible. I mean, we had both questions concerning flexibility services and climate impact assessment. Not surprisingly, the results are skewed towards being more important than not. After all, many of you are here because you are interested in a certain topic. And next up, we have some qualitative responses as well. On an overarching level, please elaborate then the role of energy flexibility in your project. I mean, understanding how flexibility issues can be fully understood and communicated, and how they are key in PED development, to some reflections in relation to electricity flexibility, I think, at least from two different projects. They investigate the potential of demand-side management in their respective testbed or focus area, and other approaches as well. I think we will hear from some of them. But also a comment and reflection on thermal flexibility, as we heard Martin talk about the different type of energy commodities in his introduction. Over to the topic of PEDs and PCEDs, and the question of approaches to carbon neutrality and climate impact. We have a variety of answers, ranging from that the area studied has the ambition to become climate neutral, to that it is more looked upon in a strategical sense, where municipalities have their own roadmaps towards climate neutrality, to the integration of mitigation measures like nature-based solutions, to looking at suitable KPIs like, of course, CO2e, but also district climate dividend, which was kind of new for me at least. So will be interesting to hear you dig deeper into this in the discussions as well, I hope. And the final pre-survey question on the topic of scaling PEDs, PCEDs to city scale. We have two reflections highlighting both the problem with obtaining different and relevant data sets, but also the fact that this scaling indeed often aligns with the strategic agenda of municipalities, and thus finding a role for PEDs in the context of sustainable urban development. So, with that said, we will start the project pitches of today's deep dive session, which will be very interesting to hear. And first out, we thought that Stelios Krinidis would present approaches on flexibility from the FLEDGE project. Stelios, are you with us here today?
Yes, I am here. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for this invitation. Let me share.
Can you share your screen?
Yes, I sent a request. It doesn't allow me.
Try again. I stopped sharing now.
You should be able to
Really?
share now.
It's beginning.
It's beginning.
Yes, but now we see your presentation.
Okay, perfect. Let me minimize this window. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Professor Stelios Krinidis from Demokritos University of Thrace in Greece, in North Greece, and I'm going to present you FLEDGE project, which is about a novel hierarchical edge-based flexibility management ecosystem at both building and city level. The project is from 2022. It's 36 project. It started on January 2024. And the main countries are 4 from Greece, Bulgaria, Estonia, and Sweden. Here are all the partners from also the associated partners, the 6 assistant partners from the countries. So we are 4 universities from Greece, Bulgaria, Estonia, and Sweden. We have also 2 SMEs working on the energy domain. Also, 1 urban public authority, Sofia municipality, more especially, which is also one from one of our pilots, and 1 large industry, Elering, which is a transmitting transition system operator, a TSO in Estonia, and 1 non-profit organization, SFPG, which is related to green and energy savings. The problem is known to everyone, I think so. So we are talking about the European Union want to reduce the greenhouse emissions by 40% and 27% using renewable and other tools by 2020, 2030. And of course, cutting-edge smart green technologies will play a pivotal role in this evolution. So the idea is not only to reduce the greenhouse emission, but also to go 1 step further towards positive energy districts. And this is where FLEDGE came to try to develop a hierarchical flexibility energy management system. It's mainly focused on the flexibility and try to transform through a hierarchical structure, as we will see in the few minutes, try to transform not only the building, but also in a hierarchical mode, also to transform neighborhoods, districts, and cities. So the vision is to use digital twins for both building and city level to see through a user-friendly methodology and a tool to see the status of its area. And of course, to make some decision. Also, the energy flexibility try to not only to detect what is the flexibility and using the demand response capabilities, but also in an hierarchical approach. This word also. Okay, try to manage this flexibility in a more appropriate way. Also, it has an energy resource optimization engine which try to optimize the building resources. Because in buildings we have renewable energy resources, RES, storage, load. So every time, and of course, if we have dynamic billing, energy billing, what is the optimal solution for each type? The energy produced by RES, what is going to be done? Is going to be stored, consumed, sell to the grid? What is going to be done? Of course, every time for the consumption, where are going to consume this energy from the grid, from the renewable energy, or from the storage? What is the optimal solution? And all these tools are going to based on edge computing. So we'll try to have in each building to have a small device, EM device, edge energy device, as we have it here in Fledge, and try to performing all these optimizations and building level. And the upper levels, we have another device, the EMAN device, which try to implement demand response strategies and manage the flexibility of the neighborhood, district, and city in an hierarchical mode, and optimizing the whole energy consumption in all level. So the overall system try starting from a bottom-up approach, try to optimize better the whole city and transform it to a positive energy city. So the main objectives of this project is to develop this hierarchical flexibility energy management system through the EM and EMAN devices to transform the buildings and cities in positive energy districts, to use edge energy for better optimization and, of course, privacy and all other advantages that we have in these edges, less computing resources and all this stuff, to optimize the management in the building in an automatic manner. And of course, we should not forget the occupants' comfort and well-being. All this stuff, because if we want to save energy, the most easiest way is to shut off everything. We save energy, but this is not the occupants' way. We want our light, we want our thermal or our cooling. We want to live in a comfortable way in our buildings, in our work, in our areas. So we want to make all this stuff without forgetting the occupants' well-being and comfort. Of course, we have demand response commands from in hierarchical mode from its different needs hierarchy level. And of course, improve the performance in all areas, in all levels, neighborhood, district, city, and building. Here is...
Maybe you could round it up now. I think we have passed 5 minutes already, so a minute or so.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So I have to show that we have 3 pilots in Sofia, in IHU buildings and some residential buildings, and that's it. I'm also done. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for the project presentation. Did not mean to end it so abruptly, but yeah, thanks anyway. And hopefully you will have plenty of room in the breakout room to discuss further with fellow experts from other projects. So thanks a lot. And let me quickly share the screen again. Any direct questions towards Stelios? I think reflections of a more discussion character can be saved for the breakout rooms. Following that, then, it is time for the next project pitch, which is, one second. Yeah, I have the right slide. I think. Yeah. No, actually, it's not you, Ali, yet. I have the wrong order here because I thought to have you coupled with Anna as you are representing the same projects. So my idea was to let Guntram Pressmeyer from Garden present his perspective first, then highlighting other approaches on flexibility from the Garden project, and then you are welcome, Ali. So Guntram, please go ahead. You can start sharing your own screen. Yeah.
Yes, you already see it? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. We see it.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure to present to you our take on flexibility business models, specifically in PEDs, and with a specific focus on those models that can lead to increased grid awareness, as this is a core of the Garden project. So very quickly on the Garden project itself. So Garden stands for Grid-Aware Decarbonization of Electricity-Driven Neighborhoods. So the challenge is quite straightforward. So the challenge is increasing electrification and the burden that the local electricity grids have to take. So the burdens are increasing PV penetration, heat pump adoption, and electric vehicles, of course. And our objective towards this challenge is to help to mainstream flexible PEDs. So PEDs that really can react to this volatile energy generation, and and in this way we want to mainstream district level energy management systems. So that's the main goal. And our methods are, on the one hand, a lot of simulation, of course, and potential analysis, but we're also working hands-on with stakeholders from the local field, so DSOs, municipalities, and so on. So we are a project of 4 countries: Austria, Switzerland, Turkey, and Cyprus. You can see the partners here below, and also a link to our website. But what I want to talk about is the business models, as I said, and I would like to continue on what Martin van der Laan introduced to us. So, and actually I have to say it's quite an honor to talk in the same session as Martin, because I read a lot of his work when he was working for USEF, and I think this taxonomy that I'm showing here, so this implicit explicit differentiation and the business models for this is based a lot on what is proposed in USEF. So actually I want to raise the question, so which of these business models that we have, so explicit flexibility business models front of the meter, implicit flexibility models behind the meter, which of these business models could work for PEDs, and which of those really target grid awareness? Because as you know, when we're talking about spot markets, imbalance prices, so this first spot portfolio optimization, that's not really targeting energy grids, that's targeting the marketing strategy of energy suppliers. The same goes a bit for the balancing energy and redispatch. They are targeting the grid, but on a transmission system level. So it's not really relevant for local DSOs. And the same goes for the implicit side. Dynamic supply prices are targeting the demand and supply from the perspective of the market, but not really of the grid. So I would argue, here on the next slide, just that these these highlighted markets and use cases are those that are really relevant for PEDs when it comes to grid awareness. So that means on explicit flexibility markets, it's local flexibility markets. And on the other hand, it's on implicit side, it's network tariffs, time of use and peak power prices, and energy communities with a question mark. You will see in a minute why. So having a look at the situation in Austria, because I'm having now a look on our case study of the Austrian partners. So in Austria, we don't have any local flexibility markets. We don't have any regulatory basis for that, although some of the basic principles will be shortly actually included in the upcoming amendment of the Electricity Industry Act. But actually, I think local flexibility markets are not really a thing so far in Austria, also in the discussion from energy stakeholders. On the other hand, grid tariffs, we currently don't have any grid-aware incentives in the network tariffs for the small prosumers. There are, for example, a power component for the larger customers, but only larger than 10 kilowatt. And also we don't have any time variable grid tariffs as we see in Germany. But what we have, and we're quite proud of that, I would say in Austria, we have a solid framework for energy communities. We have more than 3,500 energy communities established so far in Austria. Collective self-consumption within these energy communities is a business model, but what we need is to mainstream, as I said, district level energy management. And yeah, already on my last slide, I want to show how we want to do this in the case study in Austria, in Gleisdorf, located in the south of Austria. So as a first step, we are currently identifying districts where there's no district heating plant, because that are the districts where we need to get rid of fossil gas heating. That are the regions in the neighborhoods in green that you can see here that we want to focus on. We're modeling then the electricity demand and supply with heat pumps, with PV and e-mobility. And then we want to model the flexibility potential there for self-consumption. So specifically for this case of self-consumption, and how this can affect local grids. And maybe this is even better or even has a more positive effect on the grid than, for example, a simple household-based power tariff, for example. So that would be the research question. Yeah, and finally, we want to support local stakeholders in procuring such a district-level energy management system. And as you can see, we have all the relevant partners there, municipality, DSO, and also a regional innovation lab for energy communities. So we are ready to go, and yeah, I'm happy to share any updates later as the project proceeds. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Guntram, for this interesting presentation. Any direct questions? Otherwise, you were kindly enough to address some yourself in your presentation. So looking forward to hear from that breakout room as well, further discussions on the topics. And with that, it is time for you, Ali, to present different perspectives on flexibility approaches from, I think, both the Ascend projects and DigiTwins for PED. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Jonas. I will share from my side.
Yes, I stopped sharing now.
I hope you could maybe see my slides.
Yes, it's working.
So, thank you. It was planned, as you know, Jonas, that I'm presenting Ascend, but recently, yesterday, I think the day before, you asked us if we could maybe include DigiTwins for PEDs, where we are involved in, and I said yes, because we could maybe here present two different concepts, because the projects are different. So let me start immediately, because already our colleague Martin spoke about the flexibility. I just want to highlight that this is a very, very broad aspect, that it would be maybe the pillar of the future clean energy transition. With this in mind, it's not only the district scale, but also generally national and at the city scale, but at the district scale, it is becoming a little bit more challenging, because we have here 3 levels to consider. the on-site, the regional, that means the interaction with the neighborhood energy system, but also to adhere to the overall national and beyond energy system. And the measures we are taking into account have been discussed sufficiently from the supply and the demand side. So I will skip that, going directly to the project Ascent, which is an AU project, one of the so-called Lighthouse City projects, a big one, which will run factually till the first half of 2028. And it is taking this new naming set, so positive clean energy district. So one step further beyond the positive energy district with the focus on cleanness, whatever it has been presented in front of you, and still we are struggling with this definition. Nevertheless, so Ascent is big one, has around 40 partners working to establish in 2 lighthouse cities. Those are in this case Munich and Lyon, to demo set within the coming years, monitor them, establish a kind of business models, and demonstrate that the solutions we are establishing, we call them solution packages. We are establishing 5 solution packages and orchestrating them within a framework, and hopefully we can run out and scale up and accelerate the deployment of say within other so-called multiplayer cities. We have 5 multiplayer cities. You can see on the map the different cities. And this effort, actually, as already highlighted, is one contribution from this project to accelerate the transformation toward climate neutral cities. Within this setting, so this project is about demonstration. So that as we have this 2 demo sites, we need to implement, monitor, evaluate, and then calculate KPIs. So that makes the story a little bit very challenging. In the both demo site, we have maybe different setting. In Lyon, I could assume now, still not final, that we have a dynamic PED in our definition. And in Munich, we could have a virtual, because district heating being generated outside play a very important role. And it is also part of the so-called now flexibility options. Those aspects we are trying to tackle, and we are trying to keep watching eye on both domains. What we can do within the district itself, when we monitor, we have all those barriers regarding the limitation. We cannot measure everything at the building scale, but in the open space, yes, by mobility, even the same problem, but we have applied a diversity of concepts I will show you. And we are trying to keep in mind that we have established over almost 10 months, very comprehensive so-called monitoring evaluation framework. And that is the concept we have established in Ascent. It is being co-created with both cities. So to be from the very early begin on the same page when it comes to the collection of data at the building district, mobility scale and beyond, how we could monitor the sustainability and resilience of this demo beds. And this is the framework we have already established now. It is somehow working. And you can see here that in this setting, the core is actually a urban data platform with a KPI engine where we are collecting all the data and putting there, derivating them. And here you can see the so-called dimensions for the KPIs. 2 of them are crucial, or 3 actually, for the flexibility, that is the building level, the district level, and the mobility beyond the other aspects. And at the end, we will see how we could realize that. I brought here, just because the time is limited, one example for heart of it is the demo site in Munich. And there we are trying now to overcome this challenge with the limitation that we are not in the position to monitor everything. We have this real monitoring exercise. That means we establish meters, sensors. We are carrying on monitoring there, establishing a framework to transport this data to the urban data platform, but we are limited. Not all those information are there. Because of that, we decided now to think about a combination of monitoring and modeling. So we have a model city energy analyst beside others. We have established a full-scale 3D model for this heart of, and we are trying to overcome. That means calibrating the model, first of all, with real data, I mean building physical data, and certainly it is not a real validation. It is just a calibration. We are trying to combine both. So we are in the position at the end to provide an operation scheme to optimize. And we are calculating in all of that several KPIs. You can see here on the right hand, some of those of building district scale. Very crucial here are the so-called self-sufficiency, self-supply, and self-consumption ratio at different time scales. You could do that at the daily, at monthly, but also very important for us at the annual scale. On those, this combination should help us now to come closer. To be honest, we are still testing that. We cannot provide you with any results at that setting. Another element is we are performing so-called survey covering both the consumer behavior and the mobility behavior. We established one already now before the intervention, and we are going to do the same after the intervention in case of Munich. So both settings are different, and we hope that we can have a kind of peer-to-peer learning between both demo sites. Beyond that, the multiplayer cities, I mentioned the 5 of them, they're implementing single integrated solution. They are not heading to district now, but they will come later to do that. And they are making use out of this experience. Hopefully, in the next year, we could provide you with a little bit more information about all the outcomes. So if there is a question we will discuss after a while. So I'm coming to the next project. It is a DUT project. So I have a lot of colleagues now from our side, and I'm happy to have also digit twins for PED here, because the focus in this project is really about developing flexibility, so-called flexibility scenarios. And in digit twins, we are working very intensively with stakeholders, with citizens. We need actually here to more show how the awareness rising by citizen, by consumer, could help us to overcome barriers and challenges when it comes to the energy flexibility at discrete scale. We have established also a digital twin supported with 2 models. One is the SimStat, already mentioned frequently, and the Mabit, which has been established and developed by us in AIT, and both are supporting us to develop future scenarios, we call them flexibility scenarios, so that we could show where the contribution of consumer and stakeholders could heavily support us to achieve somehow flexible operation of the district, and at the end to be able to reach our positive energy balance. So it is not a positive and not a best set. That means no cleanness we have achieved it, but I mean, emission reduction is an issue, but that is a normal traditional pitch like others. So you can see here one example among of 4 demo sites we will have, or in Stuttgart, who's our colleagues who are coordinating this project. We have in North Bahnhof a Viertel, we have in Vienna another one, in Poland, and in the Netherlands. We are trying to apply the digital twin and engage the citizen in the exercise that we develop scenarios with them, and we establish storylines. That means we speak about the overall perspective top-down, and then how this district can contribute to provide an example about how the flexibility could help. So the very important outcome from the consumer behavior is about, again, what has been mentioned, the load shifting, the peak shaving, the increasing of higher self-consumption. That is behavioral. It's part of the demand side management. And on the technical domain, also we want to look how other measures like smart meters and sector coupling and storage could help, because in the reality that will be a combination of both. It is not only technical, which is essential to have technical measures, but it is also about very important to have consumer behavior. That you could see the approach. We have here one of those districts as a demo. We have our modeling framework. We have established a 3D model. From these 3D models, we can cusp up modeling of the district, and there we could establish our scenario. That's the modeling framework we have in Mabit, where we could integrate so-called future transformation scenarios. Those are socioeconomically and technically driven, and here we can integrate both technical measure and the behavior. And the result should show us how far we could come when we break down to the end-use categories in building, but also in mobilities. This is an example.
1 more minute. We need to run it up now.
I'm done. So this is an example how we could influence the consumer when we discuss with them if they are going to contribute to shift their behavior or reduce their requirement in a certain time in a big time though. So load shifting, what does it mean in the reality for the installed capacity in terms of PV, for example, heat pumps, in terms of storage, and certainly we need also to show at the end what does it bring to us if we shift the load, also from the economic sense and from financial perspective. So those are the crucial aspects we need also to communicate to them. So I don't need to go there, but we are using such kind of graphical presentation to show them the effect and how they can contribute effectively in our exercise. So I will stop here. That's maybe time for discussion after a while. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Ali. I'm sure I hope there will be room, of course, in the breakout discussion for more detailed and deep dive into the topic of flexibility services.
I need just to mention that my colleague Anna will come complete the same about the Ascent with focus on cleanness, and we have communicated that together and coordinated this effort. So please, Anna.
Yeah, perfect. Very welcome, Anna, to present or cover the climate impact assessment part from the same project.
So hello, Jonas. Can I? Yes, I think that now I can.
I think you should be able to share your screen now. Yeah, now that I stopped.
No, at this moment.
Sharing.
No, it's not.
It doesn't work.
No.
But maybe otherwise, as a matter of coincidence, I have your slides backed up in my main presentation.
Yes, the only thing that, I need that you press a lot of buttons because it's like animated presentation, okay? So I will tell you when you have to press the button, okay?
Okay, perfect. you give me the instructions and I will try to follow. So if anything goes wrong, it's my fault.
Yes.
Please, go ahead.
Yes. So hello, it's Anna Quijano. So a part of having this problem with the slides, I have some problems also with the camera, so you cannot see me that well. So well, I am Anna Quijano from Cardiff. This is a technological center located in Spain, and I am involved also in Ascent as a leader of the collaboration work package, part of working on other technical activities. So please, Jonas, the next one. Next one. Yes. So, well, as in previous comments, yes, we need to develop which is this positive climate energy districts, because it's a new concept that a part of all the discussions that in different projects and initiatives have been about the positive energy district. Now this is another discussions. So, well, there is not any definition. The only is that as positive energy district, we need to be positive with the energy production, but also adding this clean aspect, we need to focus in the climate neutrality. Please, Jonas, the next one. So, well, Ascent is the continuation of these projects that you can see here. They are funded by the Horizon 2020, and they were focused only in positive energy districts. So next one, please. So, well, these projects try to demonstrate these with solutions in different cities, how it's possible to achieve this positive energy district. And link it also with the urban planning. That is very important, not only demonstration, but also integrate this in the urban planning. But in those occasions, these PED were thought to be integrated as a SECAP, because it was the city urban that the city plans that were in some time ago. But now, please, Jonas, we are in a different horizon. Now we are working in city mission projects. So cities need to be a neutral climate in the future. So Ascent and Neutral Path are new projects working in this concept of a positive clean energy district, please, Jonas, just to reach this climate neutrality in the cities. So we are working in demonstrate different solutions in different cities to be positive energy districts, but also clean. So we understand this clean aspect as the energy sources to produce this energy production need to be renewables. We need to minimize the environmental impact, and we need also to enhance the well-being of the citizens. Please, next one. Next one. So in Aspen, we are developing a lot of solutions, addresses to develop sustainable resilience and carbon neutral districts. So next one. And we have structures in different pilots or pillars. All of these pilots are have the urban orchestra because we need to develop these districts to scale up to city scale, and we are working in different lighthouse cities and multiplayer cities. Some are mission cities, others are non-mission cities, but all of them wants to reduce emissions and contribute to this climate neutrality. So at the end, we are working at this moment in the implementation of these solutions. We are not started we are collecting data, but the evaluation is not done. Just to focus in understand if it's possible to be more efficient, sell energy areas, and contribute to the decarbonization of cities. But also we need to, or we would like to work in evaluate some co-benefits, because we need to think also in the improvements that citizens gain. So we are focused also, we need to focus in how the residents improve the livability and also the quality of life. Next one, Jonas. So these concepts of co-benefits needs to be also addressed not only in energy emissions and air pollution and greenhouse emissions and also in resource use, that also, of course, we need to focus. Also, we need to focus in how to reduce extreme weather events and urban hot spots, and also in how our solutions can reduce noise and congestion. So all these impacts that are attributed to improve the environmental impacts also need to be contributed to evaluate co-benefits. Next one. Next one. So in Aspen, we are developing different type of solutions. Here, maybe Jonas, you can put all together because it's better. So we are developing different solutions. Some consist in solutions to achieve zero carbon buildings. We are working in new constructions and in new refurbishments, trying to incorporate bio-based buildings materials. We also work in energy systems to implement in these buildings. So we are working in different technologies, all innovative, and all others not so innovative, but with the integration together this is innovative. So well, here you can see all the solutions that we are working. So, and a part of these building solutions, we are also working in mobility and frugal urban solutions that involve passengers mobility solutions, logistics solutions, decarbonized public spaces. So we are not working only in refurbishment and new buildings, but also in the context of these buildings to develop this clean district. So we are working also in the pedestrian areas, in green spaces, in trying to not to do parking spots for combustion power cars. We are working in circular economy solutions to incorporate not only energy efficiency and renewable, but also some elements like the water and waste in our projects. And the next one.
And now we need to round it up now, so 30 seconds or
yes, the last one is just to say thank you.
Yeah, okay. PCD, yeah, okay.
Yes, and you can contact me. This is my email.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anna, for the presentation and for presenting this Lighthouse project approaches towards PCED. Very interesting. I hope for some interesting discussions as well in the breakout rooms. And with that, I will share my screen briefly just to present our final pitch of today's session, which is Merv Mermartas, who will be covering the same topic of PCED and climate impact assessment, but from the approaches of the Neutral Path project. So I'll stop present now and hand it over to you, Merv. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jonas. Can you see the screen and hear
Yes.
me?
We hear you well as well.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here as also one of our project, Natural Path sister project, was here before, Askent. I think it's quite fruitful. It will be a quite fruitful session for the experts who are working on this and to assess and develop some new ideas or define the challenges and barriers around our subjects for the climate impact assessment, but how we could implement this to the positive and clean energy districts. So before presenting, the Natural Path project is actually the Horizon Europe, under the Horizon Europe program, and it is part of the Climate Neutral and Smart Cities mission. So since the main and the part of the project is under the Climate Neutrality and Smart City mission, the main aim of the Natural Path is to help our cities to achieving climate neutrality by 2030. And to do this, as you know, we are working on the positive and clean energy districts. We demonstrate how it works, how it will be implementing even from the design stage and the evaluation stages. We are also doing this when designing the PSETs. We are also working on and giving really an importance to the to create an appropriate social environment with a participative way with the citizens of the cities. Just a brief presentation. Our project consortium covers the 25 partners from different countries. Like Dresden from Germany and Zaragoza from Spain is two of our light cities where we really implement, where we really design and implement the interventions to become a PSET. On the other hand, we have three different follower cities from Turkey, Istanbul, from Belgium, Ghent, and from Finland, Vantaa, who are working with those two lighthouse cities and learning and experimenting to achieve climate neutrality and also to upscale and replicate the PSETs that will be implemented in Dresden and Zaragoza. So apart from the proper implementation in the cities to become a PSET, we are also working on long-term city planning. We are thinking on how to transform the cities through climate neutrality. And to do this, we measure the impact of the implementations, considering different scenarios during the design stage and also rest of the part. But we also, as I said in the beginning, work with the citizens through our climate neutral labs that involve different stakeholders, could be involved in the PSET development. But not also only the citizens, also the private companies in the cities that could help to become to upscale and replicate the PED transformation. So I will go deep into our evaluation framework. Since we are in the third year of our project, our evaluation framework is finalized, and that really sets a general methodology for evaluating and assessing the performance and the climate impacts of the PSETs. And while we are creating and developing the framework, our main aim was to provide a common framework that could be applied and used in the evaluation of any positive and clean energy districts around the world and in the European countries, let's say. It adopts, as you can see in the presentation, it adopts a bottom-up level approach to provide a holistic assessment with a vital components achieving in energy and climate targets. It involves expanding the scope beyond the districts either. We try to encompass all the city that the city is located, and it covers between the level 3 and level 4, where we consider and upscale the different scales from the district to the city. I would like to go more further through it, but I know we have time restriction. So just to again brief, we are for the district scale, we are using an LCA approach. It is some of you might be familiar about this term, but it evaluates any product or service. In our case, it is the district from different perspectives, environmental, social, and economic impact throughout its entire life cycle, from what we say is from cradle to grave. It encompasses stages like from the beginning, when the raw materials are extracted from the nature, where in our case, the building and construction sector has the main climate impact in this raw material stage, where we are extracting the materials that needs to be built in the district through the manufacturing stages. So the main climate impact occurs at this stage. So this is a critical stage, I guess, while we are doing the climate impact assessment. Until those materials are processing, manufacturing, distribution, use, and maybe there are some potential upgrade of the materials, and also the end of life stage, which may include the landfilling of the building and district materials that are mainly going to sometimes recycling or incineration. And when we apply, by the way, to the PSETs, the LCA approach to the PSET, we saw that it can provide a valuable insights into the resource consumption in the district, also the environmental pollution and the climate impact associated with the district's development and operation. Let me move to the other slide. As Baha also mentioned in the beginning, this is another impact assessment methodology for the city scale that we are using in our project. It's a consumption-based approach that captures the direct life cycle emissions of goods and services, and allocates the important point is here, and it allocates the emissions to the final consumers of those goods and services, rather than the original producers of those emissions. For example, what I'm trying to say is the production of goods and services within the district boundary or the city boundary are excluded. And in simple terms, as you can see from the presentation slide either, it is an inventory that we are defining as the emissions arising within the city boundaries, minus those emissions associated with the production of goods and services exported to meet demand outside the city, plus emissions arising in supply chains for goods and services produced outside the city, but imported for consumption by its residents. Hope it is clear now, but the main aim is to define the city boundary and the district boundary, even if the production occurs there, but if it is consumed elsewhere, it also impacts the climate impact there, because it is using in somewhere else and for the aim of the different citizens or let's say different boundaries. Before concluding my presentation, Jonas, I know time is limited. I just would like to mention a little bit more about our third impact assessment stage approach either. This is actually at the development stage right now. We are working on to pursuing new approaches on the terminologies and also the evaluation from PEDs to PSETs concept. And we see that a full life cycle balance needs to be considered when moving from PED to PSETs, and when designing and selecting a suitable zone for upscaling and replication, we need to mitigate the environmental challenges that will cause because of our interventions as a humanity. And the urban environment spatial features play a critical role in that. And in our cities, we are developing and searching and researching the areas under the air quality, greenhouse gas emissions, where the carbon storage potential is high in that city. Waste production, is it really serving the circular targets? Land surface temperature, it is a quite also important thing for the climate impact assessment, considering the temperatures are rising each year. Precipitation, noise pollution, and biodiversity. So that was my brief presentation. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Merv. And yeah, we are a bit behind schedule, but we also have some slack in the agenda, so it's okay overall, I would say. I want to give you the room to present your pitches, of course, but also to keep some time for the breakout room discussions, of course. With that said, I should not talk too much now and take up the time. We'll go for a 5-minute break and be back here at 3 o'clock, where we consolidate and discuss together. So we'll start sharp again at 3 o'clock. See you in a while. All right, everyone. 5 minutes has passed by now. My clock is turning 15:01. Are we still recording, Caro, or did you stop it in the break?
Right now we're still recording.
Okay, perfect. So moving on to the discussion section, which will be very interesting. And we just thought to, since you get the option to join any of the 3 discussion rooms, we will just quickly or briefly introduce you to the key questions for each room, and then you will have the availability through the Zoom application to choose which room to enter. So for the first room, Ewood is moderating and Dieter is reporting. Ewood, would you like to take us through the questions?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, in this session, this breakout, we will focus on flexibility services and then particular how they can support the development of positive energy districts. And we will dive into this topic on the basis of 3 sub-questions. One is on what are optimal flexibility sources for PEDs. Second question will be about the earning potential for flexibility in PEDs. And lastly, looking into the main challenges for providing these flexibility services for PEDs. So I'm looking forward for you to join this session.
Thank you very much, Ewood, and very welcome to join that breakout room. The next breakout room, we dive into the intersection between these 2 topics at hand today, climate impact in relation to flexibility services. Baha, would you care to take us through the steering questions here?
Sure, certainly. Well, climate impact is a target of PEDs, and flexibility is one of the important attributes of positive energy district. So we're going to be looking at several of the ways that we can tweak flexibility to for better outcomes in terms of climate emissions, climate impact, neutrality, etc. The question that we can pose, these are the ones that come to mind immediately. We can look at, especially since we're looking at PEDs in terms of renewable energy, local and renewable energy production. The more we use renewable energy, we can have less emissions, obviously. So storage plays a very important part. So in that flexibility, storage is an important part of flexibility, as you know. If we're thinking about incentives, for example, can we think about incentives to flexibility that can be structured to give stronger climate impact outcomes? Is another one of the a policy question, perhaps. And the other one is, can market transactions? This is the last item on Martin's flexibility diagram. That is connection and transport to the market, to the grids. Can market transaction benefit climate impact, and how? This could be another question to be answered. Thanks.
Thank you very much,
Nothing
Baha.
more to add on that from my side. So
Yeah.
we do this together to see where we can find the crossover.
Thank you, Martin, and welcome to join this breakout room number 2. And finally, Merv, would you like to take us through the key questions of breakout room number 3?
Sure. Thank you, Jonas. So in breakout room 3, our main focus is to climate impact assessment. First, actually, we would like to discuss the approach and the specific goals behind conducting the climate impact assessments. And then we would like to discuss, depend on the answers from the first question, what are the main benefits and also the limitations to conduct climate impact assessment. And then we would like to scale up the thinking and the approach to consider the different scales and how could this will evolve from the district to the city scale. So our breakout room will mainly focus on, hopefully we will have projects that are implementing, but also any ideas that will be open in the room 3 to consider and also structurize the climate impact assessments for the different projects.
Thanks a lot, Mer. Welcome to join breakout room number 3.
We will be with Jonas, by the way.
Yeah, I will be there. I will be taking notes, being the reporter, but I'll stay a bit in the main room to see how things go with the when you choose the rooms. If one of the rooms doesn't get that many attendees, then perhaps we might scuff you together somehow. But please, Caro.
There.
Thank you very much, Caro, and welcome back to the plenary conclusion. We have to be kind of concise now, 8 minutes to end the session. So I would like to hear some interesting feedback and perhaps 2 to 3 highlights per breakout room, starting with breakout room number 1. Evo, Greta, what would you bring to us all in a minute or 2?
Well, we had a very interesting discussion, also very broad, actually. Maybe our discussion already started when going over the questions, because there was this term of flexibility resources. And there we started already asking ourselves the question, are these only technical, or is it also about behavioral change? And this also later on in the discussion was then elaborated in the fact that for PEDs and the scale of PEDs and also the PEDs, the usual PED stakeholders, actually technology only gets us that far. So it's not so easy to find large assets that you find in industry, for example. Also behavioral change remains important, but then you're also talking about different numbers and different levels of significance, you could say, in the flexibility discussion. That would be a first takeaway, I think. That what is the earning potential for flexibility? Again, here it is about the optimization of consumption, but also trying to increase self-consumption, which can be done on an individual or a collective basis. On the other hand, if you go higher up in the grid, it's very hard for PED stakeholders, for the usual PED stakeholders, to become grid aware or to connect specific incentives to this grid awareness or to some measures you can take on that level. So that was then maybe a key point from our second sub-question. And then a third takeaway, I would say, was also about, what are the main challenges? Don't make it too complex, but even if it looks simple, it can become way more complex and when you have to calculate and so on. So why not automatize everything? But then, automatization is, of course, also giving away control of your consumption behavior or when you can consume and also maybe produce energy. And then so we also had a discussion on that, because there's maybe instances where there's self-optimization within the machine, you could say, but otherwise you gave control to operators somewhere in the system. Do we want that? Is it actually possible? Because do we want, you cannot limit really when people want to use their washing machine, for example. And then a very interesting thought there was, well, why not think about collectivities such as energy communities? Why cannot they play a role there? And then an overall conclusion as well, that's that, people have to become more aware of how this works and why it is important, but also more active. And so the sustainable society is a less lazy society. Also one of the conclusions. That would be it for the first room in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, Dieter. Very well put, and thank you for helping us out in this session as well, reporting from room number 1. Quickly over to second room of Baha, Martin, and Annelos. What's the highlights from your discussion?
Annelies, can you
Yes,
wrap up?
I will. We had a very small group, but we had also a very in-depth discussion, which was quite interesting. We started out with the question whether heating and cooling storage would also count as flexibility. Storing heat in the soil up to 200 meters, and how would this interact with flexibility storage? So that was quite an interesting discussion, and we all thought that, well, indeed, heat is also a very important energy component that should be taken into account. Then the interaction between, and that we should know more about these interactions, because they are also very important. When we talked about electricity and flexibility services, we also said, well, some of these flexibility services, they need a higher spatial level. So it's not only at the district level that we need to take this into account, but sometimes it's on a higher level, taking where you need to implement these things. And then we also touched upon indeed the behavior of people, and then also linked it to people as such, as individuals, and energy communities, and how energy communities could serve as flexibility service providers. I don't know, Martin or Baha, you are the experts. If I missed some of the inputs.
No, you more or less covered everything that I wrote down. So yes, and of course, and the main question was how would flexibility help climate assessment? And more or less the key thing is that the more local renewable energy we can use within our PED, the better it helps for the climate assessment. So I think everything we discussed was to stimulate this local usage.
Thank you very much, Annelos, Martin, and Baha, as well as the other participants in room number 2. Then I will try to say something as a reporter from room number 3, and Merv, you can join in and cover if I missed something. You are the expert together with the other participants from room 3, but yeah, we discussed PCEDs, climate impact assessment, and there were several of us, or kind of a mutual agreement that the scientific, holistic, LCA-based approach to PCEDs is the right pathway. Since it will show or cover real impact and not only the operational phase. So it's the right way to go. Many believes it will help decision makers to prioritize measures on what to implement on different scales in the city. But there are a lot of challenges and limitations to this approach for sure. Selecting appropriate indicators and scope at different urban levels data inconsistencies across districts, like indicators at the district scale might not translate very well into a city level, limitations on non-existing monitoring processes, policy integration across different administrative entities, levels in a city. There is a massive calculation and data alignment need using digital twins as an example. And also getting back to the data and data quality challenges in the LCA approach to a PCED. Merv, please go ahead.
Yes, and another point is for our overarching question is, which was quite interesting, that we need the business model to integrate the climate impact assessment to this scale, because but this business model not only needs to be the economic model, also needs to be a social and environmental beneficial model to integrate the local stakeholders and also the citizens in the district. So we should develop that kind of a model and assessment approach to also integrate citizens. And the other important point was to indicators definition, as not each city are the same. Each city has different bottlenecks from the climate impact vision. So the right indicator selection to conduct the climate impact assessment was the main highlighting point in our breakthrough. And also the policy parts. We need to have decision makers, and also that needs to be, the impact assessment part needs to be integrated in the urban city development plans. Other interesting issue was one of our participants, Nuria Garadio, is mentioning that the future forecasting weather dataset is also another important part. Not only measuring this, the present impact levels, also the future impact levels in combining with the future weather conditions was also another interesting point in our law. Just to add some maybe missing, or maybe I say the same, but yeah, those were the points.
I think you complemented very well, and I missed the end of this discussion there, getting back to the main room. But so that was interesting to hear as well. Some new insights. I know we are 4 minutes past. Sorry for poor time management skills. I see that some has dropped off already. I will try to conclude this session as fast as possible now. We will be, of course, compiling this, the data, the results, and try to draw some analysis from this, and have a round of editing together and then to publicate some sort of position paper, including statements from the project pitches, as well as draw from the discussions room. And this, of course, is also done in coordination with the other deep dives. So it will be a uniform layout and structure for those outputs as well. With that said, we've covered quite a lot of ground today on different topics, integrating them in the discussion room as well. I hope you have found both the pitches, the introduction to the topic, and the discussions valuable and insightful. as we are wrapping up today's workshop, of course, we'd love to hear your feedback on the design so we can improve, make the final, hopefully future session of the deep dive series even more impactful. So please take your time for this Svante evaluation. It's completely anonymous. We've included questions on the content format and overall experience. So simply go to Menti and enter this code. Thank you very much. And with that, the final information, we have one more session for this series. We want a deep dive focusing on financial instruments, framework, tools, business models mentioned here today, both in the pitches and in the discussions. We are lacking a few project pitches, as well as like a clear thematic lead together with us from the ESF. So if you or your project colleagues or any other project that you know of has an approach that is fit for this theme of financial instruments for pets, just get in contact with me. And right now, we are aiming for this final deep dive in June or in September. I've gotten a few leads so far. Thanks for that already. So hopefully we can have this final interesting and needed deep dive together on financial aspects. And with that, I would like to thank you all again showing up today and staying a few minutes longer. We hope you enjoyed attending the session and hope you leave with some new insights, connections, and inspiration. So thanks again. Looking forward to see you in this hopefully final and fifth session of the deep dive series. With that, I would like to say goodbye, take care, and stay safe.